Hello, everybody. Hi, ow. What a good start that is. I've already popped myself in the eye. But hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. Let me just check myself. Yes, you can hear me. Welcome to this interesting podcast. There's going to be some races in the background, which you can see on screen. We're also going to do... Stop it. Which we will... I'll show in the background. It looks like somebody's already left the Discord. This is a very good start. But even so, we're on an important topic today because we did a charity. Inadvertently did a charity race a few weeks ago. And yeah, we're going to talk about mental health today. So I have put some stuff in the description, literally, so you can see the subjects we're sort of going to cover. There's also a shout out a bit further down to Kerrs as well, if you want to check out Kerrs' channel and stuff. We'll have a look at the video later. But I suppose I better introduce the old crew that's in at the moment. There is a few more people that are planning on joining, so if they get a chance to join, they will join. So let me just open Discord and let's get it on the cards. Give me a second. Hello, everybody in the podcast. You're now live on the old internet, on the YouTubes. So thanks for everyone for joining this interesting topic. I'll just introduce you and then you can fire out a hello if you want, or just say something strange. But first up on the list, it's Cooper, if Cooper's microphone is working. I don't know. Yes. So that is Cooper, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Next on the list is GT Alex. Lovely. Jomas. And then we have... Oh, hang on. You can't hear anybody. I know why. 1 second. Good job. This is me being an ultimate pleb. Right, let's start again. Cooper, you can say hello again.
Boo. Oh, hello.
Let me turn you up. There we go. Try one more time. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there.
Boo.
Thank you very much for that. Now, it's very low. I've got to raise the volume up a bit more. Okay, that's fine. Right, go on, Cooper. Third time's a charm. Let's go.
All right. What's up, everybody?
There we go. You see, Cooper. You must be able to hear Cooper now. I can hear him loud and clear. Sorry, LZR Thomas. GT Alex, you want to say hello again?
Bonjour, Storm.
There we go. We're getting on with it, guys. Jomas.
Bonjour, Storm.
And Khkenni.
Bonjour, Storm.
Lewis.
Hello, chat. Behave yourselves.
And finally, LZR Thomas.
Nice. Nope.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone.
Just don't drag him back in. Ah.
We've also got Windfire in here as well, so this keeps changing. So we'll just go with it, guys. We'll go with the flow. Although I think I'm going to be dragging people in for days. Right, let's talk about the first topic because that's why we're here. Let's talk about mental health a little bit. So the first topic really is all to do with mental health with eSports. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you think about eSports, there's a lot of pressure and on lots of people, and I don't even mean the top guys. I mean throughout. I mean, even if you are in the 40th split or 50th split, there's still pressure on yourselves. So when I look at this year, especially in GT Sport, the championship's been 40 rounds long for Nations Cup if you did Nations Cup, or it's been 20 rounds for Manufacturer Series, which has been quite a long time. Well, in fact, it's not even been quite long. It's a very long time. It's been going since March, I think Jomas said yesterday. So let's get thoughts and feelings. Remember, guys, in chat, you can put your live chat on, and it should be appearing on the screen, although it doesn't look like it. But yes, when you type away, it will appear on the screen, and you can get involved as well. So if you've got any questions, fire away. But what's everyone's thoughts, first of all, on just the mental health, the well-being of the players of this championship?
It seems like it's mainly because of the length of the season. I think it's when you have a reset point in a season, for a lot of people, that's a reset point of, okay, I can try again now, starting from scratch. I think Nations being the main culprit here, being 40 rounds, means that if you're doing well, you have to stay on top of it and make sure you stay on that. And that's really draining to do like 6 months at a time. But also for new players, they see Nations is already on like round 18 and they're like, oh, cool, well, I'm out of it. And that's that. And it's the fact that it's gone on so long without any like major breaks. We had like 2 weeks for Nürburgring, but that was literally it, for 6 months straight. And the people who are qualified have been just like in that qualification bracket since the start. Nothing's really changed. The people who are qualified are fed up of it because they've been doing it for so long and maintaining that position. And the people who can't get in are new players are fed up of it as well because they've not been able to compete.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. I mean, like, just from my personal perspective, after the first 3 rounds, we had a break, and then it's been constant in manufacturers series, that is. And I've got to say, at rounds sort of like 6 or 7, I was getting really fed up with this whole thing. But it was one of those things where I'd put in a lot of effort straight off the bat. So I was like, okay, I've put in all this effort. And I didn't want to lose that effort. So it can get quite addictive, can it not?
Yeah, it's like, you've got to think as well, if you're fed up at round 7 of manufacturers and we've got a 20 round season, the Nations guys have had 40, and I can't even imagine, to be honest. Like, I was absolutely sick of it. I was completely done with the season around round 11. I was like, okay, this is too much. This is just dragging. It's far too long. And like the guys who've done 40 rounds in Nations, there's no wonder they're going to the events, and you can just sort of see they're a little bit fed up, and they've kind of had enough. Like, there is no wonder.
Yeah,
but
I've got to agree with
another
that.
thing is the actual format of a single round. You have basically for one series, just one series, you have 3 attempts. You can make all 3 of them. And generally, if you wanted to have a chance, I think you needed to be available for those 3 attempts. So just on the race day, that's 3 hours for only one of the championships to dedicate to the game. If you do the 2 series, that's 6 hours, and that's not going to take the practice time you get during the 2 or 3 days before. And on Saturdays, for those who also did the Super Cup, that's even 7 hours and 3 races to practice for. So that's basically a full day of work.
And when you look at it, at least for Nations Cup, 3 attempts, 40 rounds, that means 120 races potentially over 6 months, which is way too much. I mean, if you don't do all of them, that's good, but if you just do all of them because you want to have a good chance in Nations Cup, because that's maybe the one competition you want to be in, that's a lot of work to do and a lot of time. And it can be very... it can have a very bad impact on, to come back on the mental health, because you just like get worn more and more because you need to practice, and then the race you have to be good, etc. Plus the whole point system and the second, third split, which adds even more to the frustration which just adds up in the end. And as Lewis said, if you come back late in the season, that was already too late, because some guys already scored more than 3k points at the beginning of the season, which is not the case because people think their GR, which was like 3k or 2k9 at most, so they're not catchable. Or maybe a few can be, but it's just like marginal. So yeah, it's a lot of bad elements put together. Season too long, too many retries possible, the point system, etc. Yeah, that very bad on the mental health, I guess.
And
It's
also,
kind of
go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just going to say it's kind of the point that you just made there. 120 races, and that's 3 a night plus all the stuff in the middle, plus the practice beforehand, plus whatever else you need to do for the races. It is a lot of work for some of these guys, especially, I suppose, even if we look at it just from the top players, just for a moment, you think about maybe Lightning. Lightning, more than likely, he's going to win most of the races and he's going to do very well. But when you get down to that sort of bottom, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and you talked about the DR tanking and stuff like that, it does affect you because you're like, well, do I DR tank or do I not DR tank? Is it bad? Is it good? Do I have to do that on this race and then do it for this race? And suddenly you've got all these questions in your head, and then you have an impact if you think you've made the wrong decision. You've just put in 6 hours practice and then you've got all these races in the evening. It does take the strain on your mind.
And that makes a very good point as well about practice. You can even, there's not just the 6 or 7 hours of race time, you can sometimes just over practice for a certain round. It's, you need that 2.93k points to get into the qualification points, and the pressure's on, so it's not just the race time on the Saturday or Wednesday, it's the days leading up to that as well. I mean, I find personally anything more than an hour or two of practice, my mind just goes not concentrating anymore. I just get so exhausted mentally.
It's a good point. It's a really good point, because you can only learn or do so much. And I think that's kind of a difference as well with sim racing, or just even GT racing, is the fact that we're actually putting out more physical exertion compared to a lot of other games in esports. I mean, we've got pedals and steering wheels and force feedback, and some people have got load cells. It's kind of crazy. But again, it's the amount you practice. So as Dodge Lamb said, did Dodge Lamb say 25 hours in chat, I think it was? That's a crazy amount. And then you get to the race as well. So that's 30 hours for a round. And then we have 40 rounds. It's mind-boggling.
Add to that the fact that racing, by definition, is a lot about mental strength as well. I think that can also apply to other esports, but especially for racing, I think you need a lot of focus. You need a lot of work on strategy and stuff like that. So I think that adds up with all the frustration you can have from different things.
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest parts why I didn't participate this year. Like, it was really hard for me last year because I'm one of those people that really need a lot of practice for each round. So when I saw like the season this year, like 40 rounds for nations, I was just like, there's no way I'm gonna do that. And then all the other rules on top of that, which I didn't agree with. And if I had to compete this year, I would be miserable, and I would like be complaining all the time about all of the things that are wrong with how this season is going on. So I just decided very early I'm not competing this year because there's too much stress involved with all this.
Yeah, same for me actually. I did like 1 or 2 rounds at the beginning of the season to judge how much effort I would need to put into it, and quickly I figured that would be too much for me compared to my personal obligations in life, and the slots I could do, because this year I wasn't able to do the later slots. So I mean, if I had a bad race at the beginning, that would be the end of the round for me already.
Well, that's why I know you guys are regulars to this podcast anyway, but that's why I was particularly interested in getting a few of you guys who haven't competed this year, because that's the thought process that went through my mind when I was deciding what to do. I mean, some of the people in chat and some of that I looked at the championships and I said, Nations Cup 40 rounds. I'm not doing 40 rounds. That's a huge amount. And I said I'd just enjoy manufacturers in the warm-up stages, and then hopefully I can enjoy manufacturers. And then they completely switched it on its head and made manufacturers even more time-consuming than nations. And I was just like, well, this is crazy. You're not helping anybody by doing this. And I think that, in my opinion, Gran Turismo has a responsibility in itself in the fact that they should actually think about the players and not just say, you know, the older generation, the younger generation. They all want to compete and try and be the best they can be. You know, you have all these, you know, the younger generation coming in, trying to play games, get addicted to gaming in some situations. I've been addicted to gaming in my past before now, and if they're making people play hours and hours and hours on ends, there's a real health risk there.
Yeah, and the thing is also, yeah, that's young people who are gonna get addicted. There's also people who are a bit older and actually studying. Like you talked about Mikhail earlier, and sure, he had maybe less stress than other people because he is able to get on pace very quickly, doesn't need that much practice, but it still needs some practice. And he was in a pretty critical year in his studies. His finals happened pretty much during some tense parts of the series. So they should be successful in everything, in his esports as well as his studies. But you think maybe some other people might have sacrificed maybe their studies to try and have a chance for the FIA series, and yeah, obviously that's not a good thing at all.
And I kind of want to add something on it, is because we are talking about Lightning, but I want to go back to maybe the mid pack of like top split, second split. Is all those people, because there's not many space for being qualified, there's not many spots. But from all those people who actually spend time, a lot of time, the reward is basically the trip to go to like the World Tours and the World Final. That's the reward. But I'm thinking of, and that was almost my case, of people who actually doesn't have the reward from it, which just misses it for maybe a few points, a few like 10 points or 20 points over 13k. Or 26k, I don't know, but it depends of the championship. But that can have a really bad effect on the mental health, or even more so, to come back on manufacturer series, the two last regions of a qualified manufacturer, because they actually gave points to this manufacturer, and they don't get anything from it, and they will just see their quote unquote teammates going for them. So yeah, it's the whole system this year was pretty bad, but I want to have a worse word than bad. It's just awful.
Messed up.
Yeah, not messed up, but yeah, it's not the most enjoyable one, and there is a lot of possibilities to have like a lot of frustration from the game itself, from yourself, and also to like not have the reward for what you want to, like you want to be on screen, you want to travel a bit or just be there, being part of the thing, and you just don't because of silly rules.
Yep, and I sort of agree with that, and I think you picked up on it nicely with the regions, because I think, this is going to go back to the competitive nature of EMEA a little bit here. EMEA is, you know, in some situations, in messages or whatever, is known as the try-hard region. It's the one region which goes even further with practice than a lot of other regions. But Cooper's back in here now, so this is a good shout to go to Cooper and Cooper's perspective on this, because in EMEA we do try hard like crazy. Like I've never experienced practice like this in quite a while, and I've played esports in other games and stuff, but at the moment it's way up there. But in the NA region, Cooper, do you find yourself with pressure still, or do you think it's still I'm not sure how to explain it, but EMEA we feel a lot of pressure just to even try and get anywhere near the front. In NA, do you have that pressure?
100%, honestly, because North America has like, I think it's just me, but when I first came into like Gran Turismo Sport, like earlier this year, I was not even competing in the top split in North America. Like I was in the third split, and the third split is like worth how many points? Like 1,900, and then compare that to EMEA, and it's like worth 2,300. So honestly, for me, I still feel a lot of pressure because there's there's been moments in the season where I've been better than everyone in North America, and then there's been parts of the season where, I fall off. I've only had one good result this season in manufacturers, and a part of that comes from all the pressure that I've had to deal with this whole season. So it's a lot of pressure on me, honestly. And I know it's a lot of pressure on some of the drivers that recently came into the North America or who are now starting to compete in the North America region. So yeah, I think it's pressure, especially for people like me who've just come on the radar the last few months. So
That's a good perspective. That it really is, and I can see it as well because at the end of the day, you get into this top split, or you get into the second split, or say you're trying to get into the top 10 of your country or top 10 of your manufacturer or whatever it might be. You suddenly have this pressure, and if it's over such a length of the championship, it's just going to take a strain. And we've seen people leave Gran Turismo. I've had messages from people who say they've just had enough and they want to just leave it now, but then they come back anyway because they've got this attachment, because they've already invested time. And I mentioned it earlier, they're investing time just to compete, and then they go, oh, I've invested 10 hours, I might as well invest 10 more, and then 10 more, and then 10 more, and then suddenly it's this huge investment. And then, as Jomas said, people just miss out on these events or championships or whatever it might be, and then suddenly they're like, oh, I've done all this and I've had nothing from it. Now, Dodge Lamb in the chat actually mentioned about prize money, and I actually, if I'm honest, I think prize money potentially might make that worse. What do you think?
Well, I just want to say that right now, GT preys on the fear of missing out very much so. Like that is the whole thing with getting to an event. Like, it's obviously, with there being no prize money or anything, the reward pretty much ends at the live event, which means you then end up with people like me where, obviously, I'm going to Salzburg now. I don't really care that much how we do at Salzburg. Obviously, it'd be nice to get a podium, but it doesn't really make a difference for us whether we're 12th or 4th, especially those positions, because there's no difference, like, in theory at all, between being 4th and 12th, other than I got 4th. Like, just being able to say that. So, but also with these players, like, some of them are treating it like a job. We've got people investing, well over 20 hours a week. And these are getting a lot of views now. It's the biggest racing esport in terms of viewership figures, and there's racing esports smaller than us that have a prize pool. And yeah, it sort of begs the question why we're not paying talent at this point, because they are contributing towards the product which Gran Turismo are currently profiting off of.
Exactly. At the moment, it's a sense that we're almost unpaid marketing interns, doing all the sort of slogging and doing all this throughout the whole season, and it's sort of taken advantage of in a way almost. That it's not a lot of focus on the actual player, especially manufacturers. How many times have we heard, "Oh, that was a great move from the BMW driver"? Well, there's actually a human being behind that car. Why not give him praise?
Yeah, I do think they're going in a better direction, though, in that sense. They are, allowing drivers, let's take out Austria for a second, they are going back to the old, each driver gets a race. At least we might be starting to see that change. But yeah, you are right. There are games, and Jev's just mentioned in chat, 10k is a prize fund. I mean, some of us know how much GT spend on these events. It's over €1 million per event. You look at the New York, Salzburg, Tokyo, they're all within a very short space of time. There's no reason to have 3 events that close, in my opinion. They could easily take one out and make that the prize pool, wherever it may be. But going back to mental health in that sense, do you not think the prize money would make all this pressure worse? and especially with some of the flaws at the moment.
Well, I think if you want to introduce prize monies, you need to obviously redesign the competition a bit. You would need to have actual rewarding, even on the online races, the top online races. You would need some live rewarding, and also they would need to bulletproof the regulations. Because honestly, when you read the regulations, at least for the online series, there's basically nothing. It's basically void. I mean, the only thing pretty much is you can double account, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of people, like, sort of saying, like, well, if somebody wants to play 25 hours a week, they can, and it's not PD's responsibility to stop that. But when they invite them to events and do all this marketing based around them, and all the racing is provided to PD by us, we are basically creating them the FIA GTC product, and then other than the trip there, like, for the guys putting in 20 hours a week, they're not getting money from it. They're not getting paid for this. Any other sport in the world, smaller racing esports, other sports are paying their talent. And yeah, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we should, like, especially at the scale it is now, maybe not last year. Obviously, last year I think was fine. But now everyone's becoming, like, quite hostile anyway. There's a lot of big rivalries that are now genuinely starting to develop. People are getting, like, pretty hostile in qualifying for these events. Last year it was quite, everyone was really pleasant at the events. Everyone was friends and it wasn't taken that seriously. Now it's starting to get taken really seriously, even without the prize pool. And I'm thinking, well, if you introduce the prize pool at this point, how much worse is that really going to get? Because it's already getting really sweaty at the top end.
You see, it's already toxic at, like, in the top split lobbies in, like, North America and EMEA. If they were to add money, I guarantee you it would get even more toxic, and that could, like, potentially ruin friendships, and people can miss out on, like, potential world tours because someone multi accounts or gets purposely wrecked off the track.
It's already happening though. It's happening right now, and I can't see it getting that much worse. What we do need is we need rules in place and thorough checkups in place to stop that.
Yeah, we need stewarding for the actual online races itself, especially in top split and the top 16 races in particular. And also the ability to take away points manually after each round. So if you've been shown to just deliberately punt someone off the track, that's just an instant 0 points for you, and potentially even 0 points for the next couple of rounds as well as a punishment.
Yeah, I think prize money could be a good thing as long as we get more rules and regulations and stewarding, because if they start introducing prize money then and allowing teams to be more involved, I think that's a big part. Like letting teams have their gear on doing events and stuff like that, because then in that case teams could start actually giving money to their drivers, and if the drivers got money even if they don't qualify by being on a team, that could help support them a little bit with, like, making it worth their time actually practicing and driving and doing all this, so they at least get something out of it, even if they don't do as well as they might could or just miss out on an event.
Yeah, I think that would actually be a first good step. Even if they don't introduce prize money, just allow sponsors to be shown. That would be a nice step to take it progressively and see what happens.
But to come back on the initial question, which was basically on the mental health, the impact of the prize money, I think it will be as worth as it will be worse. Obviously, it will be worth for the guys to actually get those prize pools, prize money, or whatever you want to call it, and give an intensive, but that would make the general mental health of everyone, and that's only me, my opinion, that way worse and way more desperate to actually get this, because I mean, who don't want to have money out of it?
But don't get me wrong, you redesign the competition based around prize money. You don't leave it as it is
obviously.
right now. That's absurd. But yeah, we can absolutely start making steps towards having maybe prize money is not the right word, like Dodgelam said, but rewarding the drivers more than, hey, you get a free trip here and you get a free trip there, because I think that is part of the reason for the mental health issue. Like, once you've come back from that trip, it's like Sky Pittman said it, actually. Obviously, he was manufacturer's champion last year. And after being manufacturer's champion, I think he described that he got back home and he realised nothing in my life has changed. And this year, because he's been busy with other things, he's not even had the opportunity to do it this year. So all of a sudden, you've won the biggest prize in Gran Turismo, and then instantly, snap of a finger, just like that, absolutely nothing's changed. Everything's back to normal. And then, the winners aren't really acknowledged in any way if you think about it. Cubatom won back in Paris, and then he's not invited to the next event, and then just fallen off the radar completely. Yeah, exactly. And it's so bizarre to me how that can happen. Like, I don't know. In any other sport, your previous champion, at the very least, comes back to defend, or something like that. And here it's just like, oh yeah, you get your moment on the podium, yeah, you win, all right, see you later in a bit, lads. Like, that's it.
Do you know what? I've never thought of it in that way. The way you've just described that actually amazes me a little bit, and actually thinking about it, it's a really, really, really good point. With Sky Pittman just in there, was manufacturer champion, had done the work with Lexus, and then suddenly gets back home after going to Tokyo or whatever it might be, and it's like, well, what now? I've put all this in effort in, what now? And actually, that's a really, really, do you know what? I can't even describe the point that's just made. I suppose moving on from this a little bit, but Quo Guitar said, like, have any of us actually suffered from this tournament? And we've discussed sort of around it a little bit. But I can say during the season, I've looked at it and I've been down on some days, because I look at it and I go, I've got to put all this in this work, otherwise I'm not going to have a chance of qualifying, and I've already put in this 20 hours. I mentioned it earlier. It's literally it becomes sort of your life a little bit. And I've talked to a few people outside of streaming and stuff. I've messaged them and we've discussed loads of different stuff. Even just general social aspects of life and things like that. But your social life takes a hit, and then suddenly, if people around you don't understand what you're doing, it suddenly can take a hit further on you, because then suddenly they're like, well, why are you doing that? Come out with us, or whatever it might be. And then it does drain you. And I'll be honest, I've had lows this season, I've had the highs this season. I had a bit of a weird issue at the end of the last race after the top 16, after we'd done all the shooting, all that lot. And then I was looking back, reading some stuff, and I was just like, really, not really, and stuff like that. And that has an impact. Have any of you guys suffered from that this season?
I guess I will start. Yeah, well, I'm gonna be pretty honest about this. That's a big yes. I got a pretty big hit with that, because my surrounding doesn't really understand what it is, at least. So when you try to actually make it, that's the whole thing of explaining nicely what it is without looking stupid, because for a lot of people it's just like, you're just sitting behind your screen and you're just playing. But at some point you lose that playing aspect, and it just becomes, I think it's an expression you said yesterday, a job-like, and that's pretty accurate for me, without actually having payback out of it. And so when you add up like people also around you that doesn't understand pretty much, well, some does but some doesn't, or they don't really think it's that quote unquote serious, more than the trips, you don't have anything else like the Sky Pittman effect you mentioned. I've got that in the face pretty badly mid-season, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say about sort of May, June time, I was just feeling empty. Like, I just felt there was nothing in it for me. There was no motivation. I've been to the live events before. I don't see any additional benefit from what I've had previously. And I've only really done 3 or 4 races since the middle of June. And I have to say, I mean, my mental health has definitely improved. I've enjoyed myself a lot more. I feel more relaxed. I'm able to do the odd race that I actually enjoy. It's like a weight off my shoulders, just sort of parking it to one side for so.
So that's fair enough. Rapid GT makes a good point, by the way. Most of the people that do go to these events are young. I mean, I consider myself probably one of the oldest competitors there, if I'm honest, and it probably impacts them or the younger generation, or some of you guys, to be honest. Some of you are young anyway, more like in a different way than say myself.
Well, it's true that especially this season, I think you have a lot of players between 18, 20, 21 years old, and obviously most of these people are gamers, and I think some of them are already a bit unstable mentally, I'd say. Because of their age, because of their social background, of a lot of things. But yeah, we've saw in the community several people break down during the season, and some just left, just quit completely. Some others did aggressive stuff on or off track, and yeah, I mean that's another reason why they should really tone down the number of races during your season, because yeah, that's a lot of strain on people who might already have trouble with stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Just a quick question. This is just like a complete side. Do you think the multiple chances is completely like has impacted a lot worse than just having that one shot?
Yes and no. Because to a certain extent, it's still the first shot that matters anyway, because that's always the one that gives you the 40 points in manufacturers, is always the one that's 3k plus. But at the same time, if you really need a good result in one round, you do the 7 o'clock race. It doesn't go right, and you're like, all right, okay. You have to do the 9 o'clock, so you have to stay on for another 2 hours. And then you get to the 9 o'clock race and it goes wrong again. And there's times where the 9 o'clock race goes wrong for me, and I'm just sat there like, I don't want to stay on this game for another 2 hours. Like, I really don't want to do this. And then you're racing at 11 o'clock in the UK. Rest of Europe is even later at night. You get to the point where you're going to bed like 1 a.m. just because you stayed up for the third slot. I think that's more of the issue. It's just how long you have to stay on through the slots. I would personally like to see the year one system come back, where we have more slots and we just get one chance, because it spread all the drivers out a little bit more. We didn't have the second split mess as a result of it. I just had a lot more of a fun time in the races back when we only had one attempt, because it was like, at least if you messed it up, you don't get punished by the fact that you have to stay on the game for another couple hours because you really need that score. You've already messed it up and you walk away from it. And yeah, you're upset because you've messed it up and, oh no, I needed those points, but at least you don't have to stay on the game for another 4 hours,
And quickly... Oh, you go ahead.
In my opinion, I think that's how it works in real life sports. You don't get second chances at most things in life, so it's either one and you're done. So I completely agree with that, honestly.
And I wanted to quickly add that on that point, that also the fact we have 1/4 of the rounds counting with all those those retries makes the combination of it makes the thing way worse. Like, the two put together is just too much.
Ooh, Jomas?
He just died.
Yes.
He just randomly died.
Oh, rip. Where did it cut?
Start the whole thing again.
Yeah, well, I was saying that it's a combination of two things, that the retries that has been mentioned, and also that 1/4 of the rounds counts. So it's really needing that top 2 points in the end, which makes the combination of both really bad in the end and really energy consuming.
Yeah, and that actually is the critical thing in my opinion, right? Because you just said it there. The top 2 points counts. Everything else is pointless. No point coming third, no point coming fourth, no point coming fifth. Irrespective, you've got to get those top 2 points. So then it's like, well, you got to put all this extra practice in just to try and get them. And then if you come third, usually in a race, if you come third, you're like, oh yeah, nice, I've come third, I can take that, I was quite happy, it's a podium. I mean, look at racing in real life, you get a podium, you're quite happy. But at the moment, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's always like that. Like whenever Jomas is raced and we talk about it afterwards, I'm always like, "Yeah, you did really well. Too bad you can't use it for anything." Like if he just got like a podium or like a fourth place, it's like, "Yeah, that was really good. Like your car wasn't good here, but you managed to do a good race." But it's kind of useless because the points aren't worth anything. And then, like with the three, I think the big part of like having the 3 time slots and a quarter of the races count and the point system and all this is what makes the races a bit more radical, and people care a bit less about how they drive, because if it goes bad I can go again, or I'm not in a good position, I really need to make up these positions to get the result I need, so I have to just go for every single move, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I go again and I have to go for one of the 2 best positions again, because again, that's the only points that matters. It doesn't really matter which time slot. It's just you need to get like top 2 in one of the time slots.
Yep. And yeah, as I said before, I just think that the top 2 thing is the kind of one big part of it that is an issue. I mean, we've talked a lot about the pressures, but what about sort of the helpfulness sometimes? So let's move away a little bit from the esports side, just the helpfulness of the game, because obviously some people play the game or games for different reasons. So I mean, I spoke to Kerr yesterday, and Kerr races because it helps Kerr. You know, with Kerr's real life, it helps him just to go away, escape into the game, do something he absolutely loves, race, compete with people, and race, you know, just do something that you can't do in real life. You get away from everything and you can just enjoy a bit of racing. I feel that's been lost a little bit with this whole FIA stuff, but I actually you know, feel that, you know, there are positives here. We're not just talking about the negatives. There are some positives. I mean, Pad itself, I know you've mentioned a couple of times about you know, drivers with different disabilities and stuff. I actually think racing does help in that sense, and the competition can kind of help in that sense if you can try and keep it as fun as possible, because it gets you away. If you've got a disability of any kind, you can get into the game, or any game, it doesn't even have to be racing, and you can actually you know, compete and have fun. So Kerr said I could talk about it a bit more. So you know, Kerr, I talked with Kerr for a fair bit yesterday. Actually, it was over an hour and a half, I think. Kerr. So Kerr's got a social anxiety disorder, basically, to avoid social aspects. And we're going to watch a video later on that Kerr has made, which is a really good video. It's in the description if you want to go and watch it early, but you know, please continue. And Kerr's channel's in the description as well. So he used racing as a way to build up that confidence. You know, it's basically come back to himself, race, and be able to go on. And initially, couldn't talk to anybody, just using race as a way to escape. And then slowly but surely, was getting more confident and racing and racing and racing. Then got a wheel, and all this was helping Kerr develop, become more confident, and to improve. So then Kerr was using the wheel to get better and better and better, forced himself to improve every day. And this anxiety was bad in the past, and Gran Turismo helped him improve. You know, that confidence, you know, inside, mentally, or whatever it might be. And it just helps people. So we've talked about the bad aspects, but there are some good aspects there as well. And then everyone goes silent.
Yeah, well, your mic just sort of died.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if the stream caught it. That's why I didn't want to interrupt, because I think your push to talk went off. And yeah. I didn't want to say, like, oh, yeah, everything's gone wrong, because I think you were still talking to the stream. But we didn't catch the end of that. We caught most of it, but not the end of it. So if you just...
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just talking about the positive side of it. Surely you know, everyone in here has had some positives from this. It's not all negatives.
Yeah, I'll say I was in a very similar situation to what Kerr was in, where I wasn't very confident, and like I wouldn't have many friends, and like if I was in an argument with friends or anything like that, like so I had like no one to talk to, I would I was going Gran Turismo and I start racing, it's something that calms me down, and I can like get out of the real world. I can just do my racing. I can get into it. I can think about something else, and it also something that helped me last year with the whole competition, because I was in a rough time like shortly before it started, and then I started streaming and I started racing, and I built a little community on Twitch, and now like we are here. Like I met Jomas through Twitch, and we're like best friends now, and met each other multiple times, and now we've built all this IGTL stuff together, and like it has helped me out a lot, racing and Gran Turismo in general, with mentally like being more stable, more confident. Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm very, very critical a lot of the times. Yeah, I think you'll agree. Like, I'm very, very, very critical, but I want to make clear that that's only that I see improvement on something that I already really love, and like to see wasted potential is like really frustrating to me, especially when some of these things are so easy to resolve. But no, I've got to agree, like 100%. It's an amazing thing that like, going to one of those events for the first time, like meeting everyone, like the whole excitement around the online racing. You know, the online racing, other than iRacing, you couldn't find organized online racing like this anywhere before. And the only reason why we're so negative and critical all the time is because we have this base that we can build on so much more. And yet it seems like there's easy, almost obvious steps that we can take to make it bigger. And you know, a lot of that potential gets squandered some of the time. So I think that's why we always, you know, voice our opinion, and it always sounds very negative and complainy. But I want to make entirely clear the base of this is positive. The events are amazing. For the most part, we all really enjoy the racing. There's just a lot of the time certain things that we want to see changed that would make it that, like, elevate it that much more, make it that much better. But no, it's a hugely positive thing, and I think a lot of people have a lot of fun like competing in the FI events in general.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you say, Lewis. But I also think FIA were better last year for the actual enjoyment. Now I think it's way too dense this year, and community races are probably helping more people, I think, now, because you don't really have that pressure in the community organized racing. You know there's nothing to gain from the get-go, so you approach it with a completely different mindset.
Makes perfect sense. I say I've met some amazing people through obviously the World Tour events, just through YouTube, the community racing, just everything really. Even not in this game. Some of my I've not really talked about this very often, but when I went to uni, I didn't see my best friend for like 3 years in real life. We stayed in contact via games. You know, gaming is both a powerful tool and can also be a very harmful tool. It's like a mixture of two things, and this is sort of why it's got a positive and negative aspect. Sometimes the esports competition could be negative, just the game itself can be positive, and it's literally, I don't know, it's weird how it's just too extreme sometimes. It really is. But we've talked a lot about obviously just the racing side and the esports side and stuff like that. I want to get a little bit into more of the content creation side. So the community side of IGTL, for example. Lewis, you're best of British. Even just the YouTube that I do myself and what other guys do in terms of stream and video recording. Because what a lot of people may not understand if you're not into the video creation or community creation and stuff like that, there's a lot of work that goes into the background, and quite quickly you can become, say in the YouTube algorithm, you can get drawn in so fast, and then suddenly you're in this cycle of constantly trying to please the YouTube algorithm. So, I mean, what are the pressures of IGTL, first of all? Because initially, obviously, you made the competition, you had a couple of races, and it's grown and grown and grown. Do you feel you've had pressure there? Is it causing you stress? Is it, you know, how has it impacted you?
Well,
I'm gonna talk for myself, but I think IGTL brings some kind of positive pressure because you just want um, to bring the events to the best it can be, but you're not. I mean, there's nothing too serious at stake, so you know you do it because you enjoy it. At least that's my take on it. And I've been doing that kind of stuff in GT5, GT6 as well. I've run a community 4 years now, and I've always enjoyed it and done it because of that. So really, I don't think it's really comparable to content creators on YouTube or on Twitch because it's I think it's way more laid back because we're not involved in anything financial or in any sponsorships for now. Maybe one day it will happen, and then it would be more stressful. But for now, um, yeah, I think it's a good experience mostly.
Well, my bit on it is, yeah, I mean, it's stressful, but it's positive stressful, as Alex said, because you want to deliver the best for the one who actually put time to care entering the race. Because there's still people who takes time on their own free time to actually compete in what you're doing. So you have to make it almost perfect, as even if it's not a professional league, it has to be very, very good, and dealing with the incompatibilities, dealing with everyone seeing each other, not having people stuck or whatever, thinking on the fly of solutions, or just having a procedure already written from our experience, having a bulletproof code unquote, because there is still things to fix, but a good rulebook, so actually people knows what they can do, what they can't do, what they could think of to actually take part of the rulebook. Yeah, it's positive stressful because when it works, pretty fine. When as it is right now, it's just a positive cycle. Like you put a lot of time in it, but you have the positive feedback out of it. If it goes not nicely, it would just gone very bad as an organizer and as a personal side of it. But yeah, if we keep doing it, it's because we enjoy it. I think I can relate for everyone in the staff, and yeah, to actually bring something new, something fresh from what it could be done as on our scale, and thinking of something new, like the stints we did from last year, like making races now where you can't practice before being in the actual lobby, so you don't have to put time in it. Just the race day, you have to put time, but that's all. So yeah, we try to actually, well, we enjoy it, and we want to make people enjoy the game in a different way. So yeah, it's a positive thing in the end.
Yeah, I'll also just add a little bit. Yeah, I'd say it also mostly positive. Like, we wouldn't do this if we didn't enjoy setting up these races. And every time it goes well, we are like all super excited afterwards, like having a good race, seeing some good action on track. But there's definitely also negative sides. Like, we all remember when I forgot to put damage on at Autopolis, and like
Yes.
that's just something where it's like, oh, I had one job, right? And it can be annoying, and that's part of why, like, I decided not to race anymore in these events, because I just wanted to fully focus on like hosting the lobbies and whatnot, because like I literally have only performed well in one like IGTL race. So like I figured out that I couldn't do both because it was too much for me. So I would definitely say that after I started just organizing and doing hosting and whatnot, it's been a lot more fun for me, a lot more enjoyable.
Fair play, fair play. Lewis, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, so obviously I've not hosted anything since the great Best of British Disconnect Massacre of 2019. because that was really annoying, because I spent a long time putting that race together, and then just for it to, even like you said, Tidge, this race would have been incredible if it didn't happen. Like the BOP was spot on, like the track was perfect for it. It was all coming together. Then 20 minutes in, half the grid just went boof and just disappeared. And ever since then, I've sort of been disheartened to arrange another event. And it's something that I really enjoy doing and something I want to get back to doing. Obviously, with the big 20-round season we've just had and us trying to qualify Peugeot, I've not had as much time to put that together. But ultimately, yeah, it's something I enjoy doing. It's something that the community seems to enjoy. People enjoy watching it. People enjoy racing in it. I'll get back to it eventually. I just needed a break after spending so much time on that event just for it to shatter like that. It was pretty soul-crushing.
Well, I definitely enjoy competing in it.
Yeah, me too as well, but obviously not as much as LZR Thomas winning everything.
Get good.
So, just for the more the guys who do YouTube and stuff, and Twitch or content creation in that sense, because obviously we've talked about it from making leagues and communities stuff, but in terms of YouTube especially, because I think YouTube is one of the things that a lot of people fall foul on the most. And when anybody, and I know a few of you in chat have asked me this, and whatever it might be, you've asked me, how do I do this for YouTube? How do I grow in YouTube? How do I do this? How do I do that? Well, first of all, I don't try and grow. I just literally put stuff out there. If you want to watch it, you watch it. If you don't want to watch it, feel free to go watch somebody else. But sometimes I fall into the trap and I go, oh, maybe I could upload another YouTube video and I'll stay a little higher in the algorithm. And sometimes that works. But I know the YouTube algorithm is ridiculous in the way it works because it forces people. It really forces people. So if you're trying to grow as a content creator in any way, it forces people to upload videos constantly. And I mean constantly. And it's something that I want to talk to you guys about because I know, Jomas, you upload videos. Lewis, you have uploaded videos. I'm not sure about everybody else in the chat, but obviously I know I upload a lot of videos. And Kerr mentioned this to me as well when I talked to Kerr. So let me just get the document up as well because I talked with Kerr quite a lot yesterday. So Kerr wanted to upload races constantly. Well, that actually caused problems for Kerr because you'd start to think about the content creation. How do I edit this video? How do I do this video? You then start thinking about it constantly. And as He said, it can become addictive. And it's one of those things where you've got to really pull it back again if you can. And it can get really hard. And this puts a real strain on some people. It'd be good to hear chat as well. I know you've taken some breaks a few times from YouTubing and such. Do you guys have any thoughts on that side of it?
So first of all, yeah, YouTube is the devil for forcing that upon people. The way that they punish making high quality, content that's had a lot of time editing. Say if you upload one race, say it's a race, and say you upload one a week, and it's really well edited, really well put together. There's clear effort being put into it, and it's say like a 9-minute video, but like just really well edited. And then as opposed to somebody just taking their 20-minute clip from like a stream VOD and just uploading it raw without editing anything on it and then putting those out daily, the guy with the 20-minute clips would win. And they just don't promote the right thing. And I think that has a knock-on effect on everyone because then you want to push a video out, just because that's what YouTube rewards. And it's just everyone loses out. The viewer loses out because the quality of the content's not as good. The content creator loses out from the mental health aspect of, I've got to put a video out now. I've got to get this together. I've got to quickly edit this right now. And, you've got to be really careful because... yeah, it's just what YouTube encourages right now, and I don't agree with it in the slightest.
Jomas, do you have anything to add on that as well? Because I completely agree with Lewis. It's completely,
Yeah. I completely agree with Lewis that everyone lose on quality, we lose on everything. But sadly, it's the way it works. But if I want to talk about my case a bit on this, it's maybe a bit different because I don't have the connection to actually put constantly content. Like, to have an idea, a 10-minute video will require me 100 minutes to upload. So it's a scale of 1 and 10. So I'll just make a light montage after the race with what I have, because I'm using Share Factory from the PS4 actually. And yeah, it goes as it is, and yeah, I don't really mind. I just post them for myself, and if people enjoy it, that's good. If they don't, well, just pass it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was the reason why I made the move to Twitch. Mainly, obviously, it wasn't the only reason why I moved to Twitch. It's because I don't like editing videos and I don't want to upload videos. I just want to stream. I want to stream and just have a fun time, and that's all I want to do. And when YouTube's like pressuring you to make money off of it and putting videos up, and really like YouTube sort of tries to give you that push to make it a business, because if you make it a business, you start making YouTube money. That's how it works. So yeah, I just moved to Twitch and I just stream when I feel like streaming. Speaking of which, by the way, I might do one tonight since I've now moved into the new flat and I've not streamed for 3 months. So I was thinking of doing one maybe. Yeah, we'll see in like another hour or so. But yeah,
Chill.
that's why I did it. It's not chill. I just want to chill out with my boys, but nobody would know that I'm streaming because I've not streamed for 3 months.
And yeah, I can't stream because of my connection. Because yeah, I tried once on Alsace and it was terrible. The quality was okay, but it was lagging on track for some people, so it's just not worth it as a competitive aspect of it. So it's just hard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would start uploading YouTube videos. It's just the problem is that I don't really have a lot of time on my hands to do it, because obviously throughout like this season, I've watched Turismo Lester stream. I've watched Windfire stream, and it just gives me motivation that I want to do the same thing as well. And honestly, I watched Tidgney too, so I would definitely start uploading videos soon. I just have to find the time for it. Probably just post, race highlights or just post the whole race. I would probably just start off with that, and then when I get a platform, then I can start editing them out and probably put out 1 or 2 a day, or maybe just, on separate days I make a video and then another day I take a break because of the mental health aspect. So I don't know. I could do YouTube soon.
But yeah, that's the thing though. When you start thinking about, okay, I could upload a video, I could upload 2 videos, and then as you mentioned the time aspect, like time, it's weird. You can make a video in 5 minutes if you really want to, or you can spend, as Lewis said, a huge amount of time on a 9-minute video, which is superb editing. And I mean, look at Super GT's meme videos; they're great. They really are great. But the amount of effort he'll put into that is insane. But then somebody might go, well, if I put the same amount of effort in, I'll be as big as Super GT, and it doesn't work. And Jev said it in chat as well, that literally, it's not gonna, you're not gonna grow overnight. So I've always said this, and this is what can get people. And we are talking about this in more the racing aspect, which is a niche market anyway in itself. It's a very niche market, racing. So if you're expecting to become PewDiePie from racing, it isn't going to happen. It's never going to happen. And you just have to do it as a hobby. And I've always said this, if you're doing YouTube to try and make money, you will fail. You will absolutely fail. If you do it as a hobby and you enjoy it, you may succeed. You've just got to be careful about being drawn in to the YouTube algorithm. I personally prefer streaming now more than video editing. I get to do the funky video edits anyway, like the intro that I do now. I kind of like that and doing that stuff. But yeah, I still want to make videos, but in that sense, I'm trying to bring myself out a little bit. Yeah, the worst paying job in the world. Arias has said it perfectly. The worst paying job in the world. The amount of hours you will put in, you do not get the amount back. Trust me. I've always said this. I said this 8 years ago when I started. That's approaching 8 years ago, for the racing videos at least. So yeah. As Quoguitar said, I'm glad some of you guys like the videos I do. Obviously in the background sometimes, I feel like I can disappoint you sometimes when I go, I'm going to get a video out and I don't. But sometimes you just have to accept that. So just bringing it back to the racing side aspect now.
Yeah, I've always been interested in streaming and like content creating and stuff. And when Gran Turismo first came out, I started streaming it, and I really enjoyed it for a while. And then the official season started, and I just I couldn't focus while streaming, so I had to like stop streaming my official races because I would do way better if I didn't. So after that, I just sort of like fell out of the rhythm, and then ever since I've only like streamed like once in a while whenever I felt like it. But yeah, I do like streaming a lot. I've also posted videos on YouTube in the past, but streaming is definitely the content I like to do, and I just like sitting chatting with like friends and people in chat, and like it's way more chill, and it doesn't seem that much of a job like YouTube.
That's the thing I like, by the way, the fact that you can just sit there and I can chat to any of the guys in chat or on stream or whatever, and I'll just be like, how are you going? How's your day? And just, it's weird because it's even weirder for me actually, because there's a few guys from the village I live in, and the village has less than, I don't know, 7,000 people, and the fact they watch it and they've just randomly found this channel, it's quite amazing. I mean, one of the guys, Benji, he messaged in the Discord today and said, "Oh, I saw you drive past me, Tidge." I mean, how often does that happen? It's kind of strange.
I had a similar thing. I also had someone literally from my city on my stream be like, "Hey, are you from here? I live here too. Like, do I know you?" I'm just like, that's weird. But
it is such a small world. It really, really is. So I'm going to just bring it back to the racing side of it now, and the final topic, which was, I've put comments and moves in GT Sport. So what I mean by this is that somebody does a dive bomb on you, essentially, or does something, and then they instantly, after the chat, start chucking abuse at you like no tomorrow. Do you feel like this has a big impact on people? Because I personally think it does, and what they should do is literally actually take a step back. Actually look at what happened. And I've seen this in Mini Madness. People getting very over defensive or aggressive. And then when I've gone back and looked at the incident, it's not actually that bad. It's just blown out of proportion.
I think it's... Go on, Alex.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just down to the nature of racing. When you start taking the races seriously, you see that happen in real life as well. You see that a lot, actually. When the drivers step out of the race car, they are full with adrenaline and stuff, and so they can really be triggered by little things and make it dramatic out of basically nothing. And I think you kind of start to see that happen in sim racing to some extent. But yeah, I think some people might be affected by that. But I think there's also a lot of people who are able to just chill out after and understand after the fact, if they dare take a look at it and just say, okay, that was nothing, everything's fine, we're all friends again.
Yeah, so I think it's purely based on how you conduct yourself, to be honest. Just treat people how you want to be treated. Like, somebody might hit me off in a high stakes race, and yeah, I'm sat here, I'm annoyed, but I'm not gonna go, tell the guy to go die because of it. Like we've seen instances of over the last few months. At the end of the day, we're playing a game. We're meant to be racing for fun, and obviously we've been talking about earlier how it's questionable whether some people do that anymore. But yeah, just like relax a little bit. Nothing good comes from attacking a guy after the race. It's not going to give you your result back. It's certainly not creating a positive atmosphere for anyone involved. So yeah, it's how people conduct themselves, and it's everyone's responsibility just to try and keep things a bit more positive. Incidents happen in racing. Most of them aren't intentional. I've got zero tolerance myself for people intentionally retaliating and punting people off. I will never deal with it. If anyone does it in any of my series, my organised races, they're out on one strike. I don't deal with intentional punting or retaliation. We just don't need it.
Very good point. Very good point. Anybody else got any comments on moves and comments made either during the race or after a race?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see it time and time again where like you are in the middle of a important race or really stressful race, and someone does a little questionable move, and like even streamers and whatnot, they like yell at them, and like it's like, oh, why did you do that? You're an idiot or whatever. And
That reminds me of something.
when you go back and look at the replay, it's like, oh, well, maybe you were actually the guy who were slightly wrong, or maybe it was 50-50 or something like that. And it's just like, when you're in the moment, it's very often you don't notice yourself what actually happened, and you just instantly decide that was his fault. And yeah, the chat after like daily races or FA races is always just, oh, you did this, why did you do that? It's always, people always blame each other. You often see people blaming each other for the same incident, and then it's like, okay, well, we have a replay, go watch that, and then talk to the person afterwards. If you did a mistake, just say sorry. Like, it's fair mistake, it's racing, like mistakes happen. You don't have to own up and be a perfect driver every time. Just, there's no need to like go attack people.
Yeah, that's why I have the no retaliation policy, basically, because you can get a bit angry. I think that's understandable, but yeah, you can't assume someone's been really reckless until you check the replays. So yeah, basically I never retaliate. Except one time when this guy was really obvious, trying to take people out on the straights and everything, and that's just the one time I retaliated. But otherwise, yeah, you should always take a step back, even if you're angry.
Makes sense. Jomas, you said you remembered something.
Yeah, well, that was in the top 16 on Bathurst when I was in Ferrari. On the last lap, obviously, I was on hard and no stops, so yeah, the worst thing to do with the Ferrari. But still managed to keep it on track, and someone made a move which I thought, like, really think was questionable on the fly. So I literally said in my recording, and I don't want to edit that or mute that. It's just how it is. That it was a stupid move because we both lost time, and no one, like, his moves wasn't worth it. We lost back, and then he lost the opportunity to maybe overtake people in front. And yeah, that thing just made a bit of a snowball effect, sadly. And we actually made, well, took 2 weeks to talk about it, which was just bad, in my opinion. It should have just been straight away. Well, it also had other consequences, but I won't talk about it here. But yeah, it's just like sometimes you just say something on the fly that you realize afterward it wasn't the greatest thing for something which is just nothing in the end, and affect both parties and the surroundings, like their teams or whatever. But yeah, it's just, yeah, sometimes people needs to chill out and just pull out of the context of you're in the race. Sometimes you're in the race and you're just like under adrenaline, and you can say things that actually may be a bit too much from what happened, but you're just in it. You don't have the step back. You can't have it because it just happened. And yeah, in both comments or like what you say, there's sometimes need to chill out a bit, but yeah, it's how it is.
Yeah.
I also want to add, like, this doesn't only go for the people racing. For a lot of people who stream these races and are like showing it to everybody, like yourself, chat can be ruthless, and just you do one tiny little mistake or a move they don't agree with, and chat just goes crazy. Like, and it goes for a lot of streamers. I've seen a lot of guys just completely get destroyed in chat afterwards, whether it's a big move or something small, or if it was their fault or not. But yeah, chat can definitely also affect people.
It can. It really can. As I said earlier, actually, the top 16. Me choosing not to. I'm only going to say this like briefly because I don't want it to kick off into the whole argument of that again. But top 16, I chose to do something which was just not overtake somebody. There's nothing in the rules that says I have to overtake otherwise. So then when you start seeing people say loads of different stuff, you should be banned or whatever it might be, it's like, this happens all the time. David Pell summed it up perfectly in Twitter. In racing, this happens all the time. There's nobody forces you to overtake or do anything. So when you start seeing that, you start thinking about stuff, and it can have a negative effect on you. It's the same in any video comments. When I always say at the end of my videos, if you dislike it, let me know what you dislike. It's because then I can understand what I need to improve on. If you just dislike it and then don't do anything, that actually has an impact on people. If you dislike a video and then put a load of abuse about somebody, again, that has an impact. Every action, Kerrs said it yesterday actually perfectly, every action has a reaction. So at the end of the day, whatever you do in life, in real life, in racing, whatever it might be, your action will have a reaction. Whether it's good or bad, your intention or whatever, it's going to have a reaction. So just try and think about it a little more. I always try and take a step back. When the other day, who was it? Dino's hit me off in a practice lobby, and he apologised for it. And I was just like, it's okay. It's a practice lobby. That's what it's there for. You hit me off, I might make a comment like, oh no, I've been held up or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it's just a practice lobby. You just continue on and you try and enjoy yourself. Just try and bring it back. Try and bring it to the positive side of it. And that's I suppose the big thing with mental health sometimes is that quite often we can get drawn down to negatives. If we can just try and turn it to a positive, it can always help. Now, it can be hard. That can be really hard, I've got to say. And I've always said it, and I said it after the charity stream a while ago. I'm always here to chat. Just don't message me on PSN because Kerrs is more than likely going to post in chat. I am useless at PSN messages. You might not get a response for like 2 months, 3 months. Discord, I'm very active, so you'll be able to contact me in Discord whenever you wish. So yeah, if you are, struggling with something or you just want an opinion, I made up for it with disgusting Chewy. If you do want, advice, guidance, just someone to talk to, someone to let loose, I'm always here to talk. I'm sure other people are happy to listen or whatever it might be. We all have, different lives, we experience different things, and I'm sure we can all help each other.
Your mic's gone again, Tidge, just FYI.
Oh, yeah, my push to talk, rip. So we can all help each other in some way. It's this control button, apparently. So, if you do want to talk to someone, message me, message whoever. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. Guys, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to switch on Kerrs' video in a second because I think it's the pinnacle of what this podcast is all about in terms of racing and such. But have any of you got any closing words? I'll start off with you, Cooper, first of all.
I think everyone needs a break from FIA. I think especially this season, I need at least a few weeks break. I've already started preparing for next season, but honestly, I said it yesterday after the IGTL event. Honestly, I just need a little bit of a break from it, from GT, and just focus more on in real life things. So I'm glad that we actually talked about mental health on here today because mental health on this game can affect everyone. Can affect whether it can affect your FIA performance, it can affect your league performance, it can affect your you can affect your in real life things. It can affect how you can affect your feelings too. So I'm glad that we actually talked about mental health, and I'm glad that this season is over. So
no, cheers, Cooper. That's good. I'm glad to have you on as well, Cooper. It's nice to have the North American perspective on here as well. So thanks for coming on, Cooper. GT Alex, what about yourself?
Well, Jerry is the best.
Jomas?
I want to bring some positive aspects about all this stuff, and maybe aside mental health, it's just that gaming in general, and most likely Gran Turismo, saved one of my eyes, so that's just health in general. and for a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna enter into details. But yeah, Gran Turismo saved one of my eyes, and that's just the good thing about it for me.
Fair play. Khkenni?
Yeah, I just want to say, chat, be nice.
Good words. Lewis?
All right, boys, are we doing it? Are we doing some marbles then? Chat, anyone interested?
Yes.
First time in 3 long months. Let me know.
In 5 minutes. We're going to watch a video before that.
Yeah, well, no, I'm looking at 10 p.m. But yeah.
There you go. 10 p.m. Lewis's channel. Get on there. Marbles. See you there. LDR Thomas, finally, anything from you?
Yeah, thanks again. And I'd just like to point out as well, because I saw so many people do this last year and during the off seasons, and it really confused me. The next 3 to 4 months in FIA is absolutely, there's nothing on the line. So really, don't just enjoy yourself. Just do the races that you enjoy. Concentrate on your social life. Have fun and just relax a little. No, just this is the time to do it now, and it's all going to kick off again next year. So just take the time, the rare time it comes, just to put yourself first.
Fair play with that comment, and I can only agree. Right, I'm going to mute you on Discord now while I just say something. So, yep, give me a second. Right, guys, you should still be able to hear me, of course, because I've just muted myself on that side. I'm really glad that you've all tuned in. Now, before you disappear, I do want to show you this video. Now, this is Kerrs' video. It's in the description, so I would love you to go over there, chuck it a like, and do whatever to really, just support Kerrs' video, because I think it's a brilliant video. Now, as I say, I talked to Kerr yesterday about this, and it's just oops, give me a second. I'm just going to sort my screens out. Apparently, it's a really just video, like, just to watch it and listen and just try and get the understanding from it. It puts it across so well, and I can't explain this enough. So subscribe to Kerr. Exactly. It's an awesome video. I can't do it justice. I just want to thank you for tuning in and for watching the podcast and literally taking part. If you've taken part with messages, your experiences, your questions. Sorry, we didn't answer a lot of the questions in chat. I did try and get them in where I could. But I'm going to disappear for now from this. I'm going to leave you with Kerrs' video. Please, as I say, do check it out in the description. Check out the channel. And I'll hopefully see you again very soon, guys. And yeah, enjoy. Give me a second to set it off.
Just believe in the things they've heard and the things they read. Nobody knows what waits for the dead. I'm glad I can't go back to where I came from. I'm glad those days are gone for good. But if I could take experience from my past and bring them here, you know I would. No, I Nobody speaks to God these days. Nobody speaks to God these days. I'd like to think he's looking down and laughing out of ways. Nobody speaks to God these days. When I was a child, they tried to fool me. Said the worldly man was lost and that hell was real. Well, I've seen hell in Reno, and this world's one big old Catherine wheel spinning still. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. Takes a lot to change, man. Hell, it takes a lot to try. Baby, it's time to let the old ways die.